So the first one is, and by the way, I'm talking about the US, but these same trends we're seeing everywhere. Maybe they take on a little bit different flavor, a little bit different form. Latin America is a little bit different than Europe. Europe is a little bit different than the United States. They're all different. They're Western countries, all different than Asia. But we see the same sort of trends. And the first one is the long-term erosion of trust, whether that be trust in institutions, the press, universities, science as examples, whether that be interpersonal trust, me trusting you. And obviously, that's super important. A lot of social scientists and economists call that social capital. There's a lot written on the economic costs. And indeed, I ran Ipsos in Brazil for 10 years. Brazil is a low trust society. Contracts are super onerous. There's like economic cost for low trust. But there's other sort of nefarious outcomes, which I'll talk about in a couple seconds. I just want a proof point. This is just the US. This is taking the General Social Survey out of the University of Chicago. And it's looking at long-term decline. A little bit up, some ups, some downs. It's the average of 12, 13 institutions, trust or confidence in institutions. We see this trend of decline over time. By the way, it doesn't matter what measure we take. This is a proof point to make the point that independent of the measure, trust is going down. And independent of the country, indeed, we look across countries, trust is going down. Okay? Proof point. And linked to this, and indeed a lot of the work I do, I work a lot with hedge funds and from the financial sector trying to predict elections, kind of predict what will happen, in terms of election and the like. What we're finding, broadly speaking, in this increasingly low trust environment is the rise of what we call the system is broken syndrome. The widespread belief in a low trust environment that the system is broken, that the system, the establishment itself, can't deliver on people's basic needs. Man, does that sound familiar? Does that sound like messaging in the US? Oh, by the way, we're seeing that everywhere. Whether the UK or France or Hungary, Mexico just had an election. Brazil's having an election now. The same sort of messages resonate. And why? Because correlated with that low trust environment are things like widespread belief in the system is broken. Look at this data. I mean, you're all data people. These are global averages. These are like big numbers. 66% of Americans, 58% of people globally, 24 countries. The economy is rigged for the advantage of the rich and powerful, 70%, 69%. We need a strong leader to take the country back. Man, have we heard that here in the US? Yes, but we're hearing that everywhere. And this is correlated with low trust environments.